Our next storyteller actually works with me at Rice, so thank you for helping to show me around. Pamela was a volunteer in Mali from 2011 to 2012, and she worked in water and sanitation health. She was a WASH volunteer. We have a lot of different terms for a lot of different kinds of work, but mostly what we try to do is help. So know that. But she was specifically focused on water and sanitation. Pamela?
Hi everyone, thank you. I feel that most Peace Corps volunteers all have a transportation story. So I'm going to tell you about the first time that I traveled alone in Mali. I had just finished pre-service training and I was going to a Peace Corps house. They had like Peace Corps houses like all over the country where you could stay. I was going to a place called Kuchala that was like near my village. So this Peace Corps person takes me to the bus station. I get out and I think I immediately realized, I was like, wow, I can't speak Bambara. Like no one would understand me. So finally I find the bus that I think is going to Kuchala. I get on. And so I'm like, great. I was like, this is good times. We start going, we're like an hour in, and I like look out the window, I'm like, life is so beautiful. And I see a sign that says Mopti, which is in the northern part of the country. And I'm like, oh my God, I got on the wrong bus. So like I make my way up to the driver and I'm like trying to explain to him, I'm like, I'm on the wrong bus, like let me out. And they were just like, no, we can't stop the bus, you know? Turns out I was on the right bus. So I was like super embarrassed. I go back and I'm like, everyone's staring because they're like, what's this white person doing, you know? So I go back and I sit down. Immediately, like the bus like starts like violently shaking and comes to a stop. Like everything in Mali, the bus broke down. So we're there for about like 3-4 hours, and I'm in a country where it's usually just like 100 degrees Fahrenheit all the time, you know? So I'm like, at this point I'm like, am I sweating? Am I crying? I don't know. And I had like this little water bottle and I was like, I'm gonna ration it. And then all of a sudden I just chugged it all. And I was like, oh my God. So finally, they fix it. And we start going on our way and I was like, right, all right, we could do this. All of a sudden like I'm like feeling like the breeze and I'm like, yes. And then people start like closing up the windows and I'm like, what are you doing? Like it's hot in here. And like this guy like points outside and I just see like these huge like clouds and I'm like, oh my God. So it starts raining and like not sprinkling, like this is like Jumanji type of rain. And all of a sudden I'm like, I like look up to the bus and there's like holes on top of the bus. So the bus starts like flooding. And so I'm like, oh my God. I was like, have a sense of humor, Pam. You know, please. You know, you're gonna laugh about this one day. So I'm like holding my duffel bag, like trying not to get wet. Like there's some chickens in the back that got loose. Like one hits me on my head and so I'm just kind of like, what am I doing here? So I'm like having like this inner panic attack and I saw like this woman who was like staring. She comes and sits down next to me. And so she starts talking to me, like trying to like calm me down. And she asked, she was like, have you eaten? And I said, no. So like she digs in her pocket, like, and gets like this little handkerchief with like these little pieces of meat. And she hands it over to me and I'm like looking at this mystery meat and I'm like, oh my God. But mind you, I'm in a country where rejecting food is like the ultimate disrespect. And I had learned that like in my Peace Corps training. So I was like, I have to eat this meat. So I'm like, stomach, God, please, like, let me survive this. So I ate it, we kept talking. I eventually fell asleep or passed out of dehydration. I'm not sure. So I finally get to Kuchala. It's super late. There are no taxis because it's so late. So I try to remember that there's like, the Peace Corps house was like, turn left, keep walking, you're gonna see this orange store, turn left. So I was like, okay. So I'm like walking with my duffel bag, and I'm like, this day is almost over, you're almost there. And then all of a sudden, this guy in the motorcycle stops. And so my heart starts pounding, and I'm like, wow, this is how it ends. This is how I die. So I turn, and then like, there's like little to no electricity, so it's like super dark. And so I turn, and he looks at me, and he says, Herebe, which in Bambara means, how are you? But it directly translates to, are you in peace? And I'm like, inside my mind, I'm like, no, I'm not at peace. Okay, I just had the most horrible day ever. But all I said was like, no. And he like laughs, and he's like, I know where you're going. And I'm like, no, you don't. I don't think so. And he was like, yeah, you're going to the Tubab house. Tubab means like gringo, foreigner, white people. And I'm like, yes, I am going to a white people's house. I was like, yeah. So he grabs my duffel bag, I get on top of his bike, he takes me there. And when I get there, like I try to give him money, and he was like, no. And he leaves. And I feel like once I got there, I realized how, how silly that I was like upset of like all these things that happened to me. And I feel that once you're applying to Peace Corps, like always remember to have a sense of humor. You're gonna have good days and you're gonna have bad days, just like you do here, but most of these like bad days, you're gonna end up laughing about them someday. And as you keep applying, and I hope you do, I'm gonna leave you with this Bambara blessing, because blessings are very important in Malian culture. It's Ala Kasira Dia, which means may the road be good. Thank you for your time. Happy Peace Corps Week.